Good morning and welcome back to Moscow. Yesterday afternoon we saw the junior bouldering semi-final. Today it's the turn of the Youth A climbers. They're the middle age group represented here in Moscow. It's climbers born in 2001 or 2002. Now, yesterday's group, the juniors, are slightly older, born in 99 or 2000, but a lot of the names today might be more familiar to you. We're going to see Futaba Ito, Brooke Rabatu, Laura Agora, just to name a few. And we bring you the full start list right now. This is on the women's side, as I say. Laura Agora, Brooke Rabatu, two of the names I just mentioned there. Laura Lama, Flavie Kuo, Oceana McKenzie, Daria Fominova, all familiar, I'm sure, to regular viewers of the IFSC World Cup. And we will bring you the rest of the start list in just a second, but first things first, we've got climbers on the wall. We're going left to right here today, so men's one, women's one over on the left. Both number 2 boulders, both number 3 boulders, and both number 4 boulders working their way rightwards across the stage. It's a big wall to fit in inverted commas, just 8 boulders, so plenty of space for the route setters to play with. Plenty of volumes, such as that huge half moon shaped one on women's one. And Uri Agmon of Israel, our first male climber out, and Daria Fominova, whose name I just mentioned, the first woman out. Daria Fominova in danger there of starting illegally. You could see she had her hand on the blue hold, not the official starting orange hold. Now this first move on women's one, quite a tricky one. The crux is getting your hands on top of that green volume that she's got her left hand on. I'm told that once you get to the zone, people should top from there. Most people will top once they get the zone, but mantling, finding a way of getting yourself onto that round green hold that Daria's currently holding with her left hand is the crux. It's a good start from Uri Agmon. We could be heading for a first top here. Touched it, but couldn't quite hold it. Yesterday, if you watched our coverage of the juniors semi-finals, didn't have as many tops as the route setters were expecting. But I'm not sure if too many changes will have been made. General feeling is that Youth A climbers, particularly on the female side, on balance across the 20 athletes, may actually be stronger than the juniors. So although it was felt by the route setters that they may have slightly overcooked the juniors semi-final for the bouldering, particularly on the women's side, hasn't necessarily affected their thinking as far as the Youth A goes. Daria Fominova trying again with that green hold, and that is not the way the route setters thought it would be done, but if it ends up with you in the right position, it matters not. They envisaged that you'd press down with both hands on that green hold that she's currently got her left foot on and then reach up for the zone. But as it was, she popped straight forward. The question now will be how she frees her right hand up. So she'll get a zone for that, she'll be awarded the zone. But the problem is, she needs to get both hands on it and then move from there. As I mentioned, the route setters think once you've got both hands on it, you should, in the majority of cases, then top the boulder. Uri Agmon of Israel lining it up for the top. He's already had his left hand on the top, and a pretty similar outcome this time. Slapped for it, but wasn't able to control it and wasn't able to bring the right hand up to join it. So Daria Fominova will try again. She likes that method with the heel hook. Got her to the zone, but she's now got the same problem she had earlier of how to free up that right hand, and you can see the same outcome.
1 minute left.
With a minute to go, perhaps a rethink is in order for Daria. Uri Agmon tries again. Just under 40 seconds left for these climbers. As ever, there's in a semi-final, we've got 20 men, 20 women, They're attempting 4 boulders, and they'll each have 5 minutes on each boulder. So will we see a different method from Daria? Can Uri turn touch in the top hold into latch in the top hold? He's got plenty of time. It's a relatively straightforward lower section of this men's one. He's got his hands in a slightly better position this time, but he's still going to have to commit. And again, touches the top hold, but can't hang on to it. Katja Vidmar, one of our route setting team this week. And here's the rest of the starting list that we didn't see earlier. Some very interesting names coming, particularly later on. Hannah Moore, Sandra Lettner, Saki Kikuchi, Emily Phillips, Futaba Ito. All names that will be familiar, particularly if you watched our coverage of Innsbruck last year. And over on the men's side, Alberto Gines Lopez, down there in 10th place, has been having a very, very strong 2018 so far in the Senior World Cups. Interested to see how he gets on here. Just have a quick, very quick look at the rest of the order. And again, there'll be a few familiar names in there, including Sam Avazu, whose brother Leo climbed yesterday in the juniors. Olympia Ariani of Italy now, and Ziga Zakt of Slovenia. And as we saw with Uri Agmon, excuse me, he's very quickly through that lower section. No doubting what the crux move on that men's route is, and the last one. So Olympia Ariani now. This is the more traditional, if you like, way of doing this move, trying to jimmy your body so that you end up on top of that green hold. What we saw from Daria Furmanova was that she was coming at it from the left and she just couldn't free her right hand up. So both climbers now on the mats. They've got 3 minutes of their time remaining, 5 minutes flat to find a way on these boulders. If you're just tuning in, good morning. If you are in Europe, if you're in North America, I can't begin to imagine what time you had to set your alarm for, but welcome. We're live in Moscow. We're in the Dynamo area in the northwest of the city, a couple of metro stops away from Red Square, and this is the Youth A Bouldering semi-final. 3 age groups represented in Moscow: Youth B, climbers born in 2003 and 4; Youth A, which we're currently watching, climbers born in 2001 and 2; and juniors, climbers born in 1999 or 2000. So Ziga getting himself in position, and ditto Olympia. Promising attempts from both climbers. And almost at the same time, just pop off. So the last move on men's one was thought to be the crux, and it's certainly proven to be that way so far. Interesting that Olympia Ariani got herself onto the zone pretty solidly from where it was felt most climbers would top out. I have to say, it didn't look. This is the first time I've seen any of the athletes obviously attempt the boulder, not the route setters who already know how it's done. But interesting that she didn't immediately seem to find the method. She doesn't look too disheartened though. I think there'll be at least one more very good attempt. Ziga just slipping on his attempt there. Attempts have been pretty crucial already in some of the bouldering we've seen here in Moscow, so likely to come back and haunt him, but a shame to just lose an attempt so early on. Olympia now got herself in position. She's going to need to commit a little bit to get up to that next green hold. It's not a super hard move, but you've got to really, really commit to it. And I think we might be about to see our first top of the semi-final. We are. Ziga gets it done on men's 1 with just under 20 seconds to go. Olympia pulls back on. I don't think she'll have enough time. She's already got the zone, of course, so the only reason she would pull back on is to get a top. And she's not going to get one. So disappointing for her. I think if she'd found that method of getting to the zone a bit earlier, she might have got the move after that done. So this is our first chance to see Kazuma Issa of Japan and Miriam Fogu of Italy, and our first chance to see the second boulders. Men's 2, one of the most complex boulders we've seen so far in Moscow. All sorts of ways of doing it. Quite interesting chatting to the route setter team. They basically said, well, as long as you're confident and you keep moving, there are different ways of doing it. There isn't necessarily a set way of doing it. But the key is not to question it too much. Just find a position, stabilize it, find a way to move. Don't dwell on it too much, because there are almost endless possibilities for solving that boulder. Don't forget, you can get in touch on Twitter as ever, hashtag IFSCYWCH. Let us know what you think. Predictions always welcome. This is Kazuma on men's 1. His compatriots put in a very strong performance, claiming the top 3 spots in the semi-final yesterday in the male juniors. Just readjusting. We've just seen this boulder topped, and he just had a few too many readjustments. That's Miriam Fogu just lunging for the zone on women's 1. Not the way to do it. You've got to go up. Well, I say you've got to. Climbers never cease to surprise, but the theory is that you've got to go up reasonably in control. Buryagman of Israel is back out. He's climbing on men's 2. Daria Fomanova is climbing on women's 2. Women's 2, initially when you first walk up to it, it looks like quite a basic power problem, but there's actually a couple of little tricky bits. You can't just yard your way up this. You need a bit of finesse. You need to read it right. Moves become an awful lot harder if you don't figure it out perfectly. As I say, on the men's side of things, as we see Uri called down, I think, for an illegal start. Yeah, if you don't figure this one out, such as the undercling catch on the right-hand side of that green volume, you can see, we'll go back in a sec, but there's a white screw on underneath. You just got to catch that. Talk more when we see it again. Kazuma now, men's 1. Now, he took a long time figuring out how to use this hold last time. A little more certainty this time. Now somehow got to keep his body over to the left so that that right hand is useful, and then slap for the top. We've seen it done though. Ziga topped it. Second Italian climber out on a row on women's 1. And you can see there Miriam Fogu just using her slight height advantage over Olympia Ariani. She's able to just reach for that green hold, and the route setter's predictions that from the zone most of the climbers would bring it home. Not proving to be the case so far. Minute left for these climbers.
1 minute left.
В болдеринге мы знаем, что буквально, может быть, от 3 до 10 движений, всего лишь 10 движений, зато каких сложных.
Вчера мы видели, что можно за 10 секунд.
So all 4 climbers on the mats. on what will probably be their last attempt. So as I said on women's 2, you can see just above and right of Daria's head, now immediately right of her head, there it is. You've just got to catch that. If you miss it and try and go for the zone without it, it's close to impossible. It's a relatively obvious move, but when you've only got 5 minutes to read the boulder, attempt it and top it, you can miss details like that. I thought we were about to see first top of women's 1. Miriam Fogu looked like she thought perhaps that one was in the bag before it actually was. Lučka Rakovic of Slovenia and Zach Richardson, latest climbers, onto the first boulders. Ziga is back out onto, he's climbing on men's 2, and Olympia Ariani there on the left wearing 310 is climbing on women's 2. Second climbers to attempt the second boulders. Climbers coming in reverse order from the qualifiers, so those who qualified highest will come out last in the semi-final. Doesn't necessarily mean that much though. There's certainly a few people climbing relatively early on in this semi-final that you might expect to be slightly higher up the order. So don't read too much into it. This looks hopeful here from Lučka. Again, she's over to the right, and coming back left to get yourself under the zone is very, very tricky, but clearly can be done. Looked like a lot of strain was going through her shoulder there. Both men and women have got 3 steep overhanging boulders to start the semi-final. They only get on a slab right at the end, so you're going to have to be reasonably clever in how you use your energy. You've only got 5 minutes recovery. If you can get an early top, you gain yourself a little bit more, but energy conservation could well be key here. 3 minutes left for these two. Just seen Miriam Fogu get very close to topping this boulder, and Lučka Rakovic not too far off herself. Well, after a scarcity of tops in yesterday's junior semi-final on the women's side, I wonder if the route setters are slightly concerned, because as I say, they thought that getting to the zone would be tough, which hasn't proved to be so far, but that getting from the zone to the top wouldn't be too tough on women's 1. It's proved to be the complete opposite. There are only 4 climbers in. Just over 2 minutes left for these climbers to find a top. And at the end of this 5-minute rotation, we'll have our first chance to see the third boulders. As I said, they're the last steep boulders. It really mellows out on the 4th one onto a slab. Both, I think even by the high standards for these climbers, both tricky slabs. I'm not sure how many tops we'll see on either of them. Zach Richardson onto the upper part of this men's 1. Now this move here has proved to be the crux. It's figuring out how to use that long black hold and then free up your hands to slap for the top. He tried the knee bar, looked as if it had some promise, but that orange volume below the black hold is a bit more sloping than perhaps it looks at this angle. It's very hard to get much purchase with your foot if you're going to try and use a knee bar. Lučka again straining to try and find the top of that hold, and she's found the top of the boulder. Checks with the judges. Nicely done. So women's 1 has been top now.
So we have announcement if somebody lost some goods. So we have a special We have a special box with the nose boots. Where is it?
Ziga, he's got 30 seconds
To the
left
left of the climbing wall.
to
Just
find
right
a
here,
top.
we have a box with the nose
We
boots.
haven't seen that much of men's two, but keep an eye on it because I think pretty much every attempt from every climber is going to be slightly different. There's holds and volumes everywhere. There's no black tape over to the right. You can jab your foot out, no problem. So Zach, this will be his last attempt. Don't think he'll be timed out. He's going to have to get a move on. And again, as we've seen with a couple of climbers, manages to touch the top hold.
The next climbers is
Not control it, not match it sadly.
from USA. Oh, from Canada, sorry.
And Okeania McIntyre from Australia.
Second Canadian climber in a row onto men's one, Guy McNamee. And on women's one, Oceana McKenzie.
Самая интересная трасса, на мой взгляд. Честно говоря, так сразу не понял, но
Very exciting young Australian climber.
allez. Дай. Давай. Наш спортсменка из России на третьей трассе можно
So
поддерживать.
Miriam Fogu is now trying her luck on women's two. Kazuma Issa of Japan trying his luck on men's two. And she's just, I've said it a couple of times already, so many ways of doing that men's two. You can go out left early on, you can go direct, then come back left. And now we can have a look at women's three. It's, in terms of the number of moves, quite a short boulder this. And Daria Furmanova figured out the jump pretty early on.
Давай.
You've somehow got to get what is a pretty good hold above this zone hold. You can just see it at the top of your screen there, that pink bolt on. You've somehow got to get that without your body rotating round to the right. It looks figure-outable. So, boulder one for the men and the women has been topped. As yet, none of the others have.
Gamba.
This looks pretty hopeful for Kazuma though on number two.
Gamba.
Looks like we didn't see his full attempt. I think he completely missed the zone hold out.
Just looking at it, it's something new.
Now he uses it. Drops off not too far from the top. Another couple of moves, he'll be there. This guy on men's one, just struggling with the start at this stage.
Молодец, спортсмен из Японии продемонстрировал такой находчивость, да?
Кстати, вот в первый день квалификации
Oceana McKenzie pulls back onto women's one.
в каких-то моментах они просто берут и идут по стене.
She made her World Cup debut in Hachioji in Japan back in early June, made the semi-final there. Team Australia have got high hopes for her. She is the reigning, I'll just resume in a second, we'll see her attempt. That looks an incredibly uncomfortable position, trying to hold on to that zone. Can she find somewhere freeing up her right hand? She can. Well, this does look hopeful. Glad she took the chalk. It is pretty warm in the arena here. It's it was very hot last night in the arena, perhaps slightly cooler today, but it's just so big in here. You can't really control the temperature in the way that you can with the smaller venue. It's an enormous floor space. She's just struggling to match that second to last hold. I was about to say, Oceana McKenzie, she won the Youth B Boulder, the Youth B Speed and the Youth B Lead in the Oceania Youth Championships last year, and was 9th in the Youth B combined in Innsbruck in 2017 as well. Kazuma just shaking out on the right there, trying to figure it out. And this is our first chance to have a good look at men's 3. We've got Uri Agmon climbing on it. And he's got the swing. Presumably that's the first time he's got it from the cheer of approval from the crowd. He's got another committing move here. Is he going to try and do it statically? I think he is, and he's going to run out of time, so no tops I don't think we're going to see on that rotation. First US climber in today's semi-final. First of 3 men, Sam McQueen. On the women's side, Miyu Kurita of Japan. As ever in youth competitions, senior competitions, particularly in the bouldering, Japan very well represented today. Zach Richardson now having his go on men's 2, and on women's 2, Luchka Rakovic. Luchka's got the only top so far of this women's semi-final. She got the job done on number 1. Got her off to a pretty strong start. Needs to get that catch underneath the green volume. There it is. You can see, even if you read it right, it ain't easy. It's a completely different method from what we've seen the previous climbers. Zach Richardson going pretty much straight up the guts of the boulder. Here's Sam McQueen of the US. It's looking pretty handy. He's seen quite a few climbers just tire out, trying to figure out how to use that hold, and again the same fate befalls Sam McQueen. Welcome to everyone who's watching their athletes in Canada and the States. By my calculations, it's coming up for 4:30 in the morning on the East Coast. As you go further west, it's horrible o'clock, so thank you for getting up and welcome to Moscow. Miyu Kurita, Japan, on women's 1. Slightly shorter, had to employ a kind of double toe hook, but it's worked a treat. She's got a top on women's 1. She's got 2.5 minutes of extra rest, which, given how steep the boulders are, particularly for the first 3, she might be very, very glad of. Ziga now on men's 3. Got a top on number 1, still the only top in the men's competition. And he's got the right idea there on men's 3. It's no longer the only top of the competition. So far, Sam McQueen just top number 1 as well. Let's have another look at Sam's top. We just cut to it at the very last second. Just waiting for that replay to come up. This women's 2 and men's 2, I mentioned it at the start of the broadcast. We're going left to right, 1, 2, 3, 4. This was the top from Sam McQueen on number 1. What was the method employed? Yeah, pinching / pulling down on the top of the hold with the right hand, and then managed to get his foot in play, which not many of the climbers have. Once the right hand landed, it got solid. Relatively straightforward for the left to join it. Are we about to see first top on men's 2? Yes, we are. Zach Richardson. Quick fist pump, and again, extra minute of rest could come in very handy. Ziga here on men's 3. He's been in this position a few times. When your arm is straight and pushed behind you in such an awkward position as it is on that men's 3, it's really hard to generate any push off it. So that's why he's struggling to get the momentum to drive himself right, to get hold of that zone. Trying a different method now, going fully dynamic, but doesn't like the look of that. I think he will call it a day with around 15 unused seconds at the end of his attempts. So next 5-minute rotation begins. Laura Lama makes her way onto the stage alongside Semen Ovchinnikov of Russia. Stage now full for the first time in the semi-final. Daria Furmanova and Uri Agmon are going to have a go on men's 4 and women's 4. The slabs at the far right of the wall. Oceana McKenzie is back out. Ditto Sam McNamee. Sorry, Guy McNamee. Apologies, Guy. Laura Lama there. One of the climbers you might have expected to be slightly higher up the order here in today's semi-final. Can she deliver? Semen giving it everything he's got on men's 1, but it's proved to be enough at this stage, and that's nice climbing there from Laura Lama.
Come on, Canada, come on.
Hey, come on, Australia. Come on.
I think I just heard the venue MC say, "Come on, Australia." So I assume Oceana McKenzie's making pretty good time on women's 2.
Come on. Come on. Alex.
Stay with Laura Lama for now on women's 1.
Come on.
I think even at this early stage, it would seem that this is a boulder you're going to need to do, and Laura Lama's done it. She wants to progress to the final.
Come on. Hey.
Давайте.
Что ж, как я говорил, половая часть, да, она всегда представляет такие трудности, слаб, так называемый, слаб ламбик.
Опять наше любимое равновесие.
Да, аккуратность, равновесие. Как правило, нам очень плохие ноги.
This is Miriam Fogu. You saw that on women's 3. That initial jump shouldn't prove too difficult, and it hasn't so far, but it's finding a way from there that's causing the problems. Semen Ovchinnikov of Russia. Jimmying around with that volume, trying to find some way of using it. We've seen a few climbers just stall out here because no part of it is particularly what you want it to be, and people have just kind of stalled out, almost some indecision. Kazuma there. Strained his neck, perhaps trying to move right on men's 3. This is Oceana McKenzie. I mentioned it earlier. I heard the venue MC giving us some encouragement and chose not to use the undercling with the right hand and went straight for the zone. It didn't look too far off. Miriam Fogu, right hand side of your screen on the women's 3. Needs to find some way of getting on top of that hold. It's a pretty good method of doing it, but it points down, so it's not like you're secure once you're on top of it. Here is Guy McNamee, Canada, trying men's 2.
Come on. Come on. Come on.
So tenuous, these moves. This section of the wall is very, very steep. It's about 30 degrees overhanging. Doesn't necessarily come across when you're looking at the wall from this angle. But he's making a pretty good job of it so far. You can see the top hold. Just needs to find something to do with his feet. If you go from there, it's very difficult to hang on to. He's close, very, very close on that one.
Come on.
His compatriot Zach Richardson has already topped it. That was on his third go.
Come on. Hey.
20 seconds to go.
Applause,
Don't
please.
think we're going to see any more tops in this round.
Come on, Japan.
It's not going to stop Kazuma from having a go. He's got 6 seconds left. This will have to be something incredibly special. I think this will be an attempt for the zone only. And he just can't find a way to get himself over to the right.
From France.
And Flavie Koho from France.
So Ziga about to finish his rotation at the end of this 5 minutes. Ditto Olympia Ariani. It's all France on the first boulder. Ilian Sherif on the men's side and Flavie Koho on the women's. Zach Richardson, one of only 3 men with a top, and the only top of number 2 so far. He's trying his luck over on men's 3. There he is.
Come on. Come on, Zach. Come on, man.
Can he find a different method? Has he just got enough power to get the left hand in there and just push off it? It's immensely difficult to generate any power, as I said, when your arm is straight, and especially when it's twisted around behind you. You see a lot of effort having to go in here. He can almost reach the zone in a straight arm, but he is going to have to commit to an extent. Nicely done on men's 3. This is comfortably the best attempt we've seen so far. You'll see on the right hand side is that black tape, so he can't dab his foot out to the right to stabilise himself. And he stopped 2 moves from the top, but certainly looks toppable. This is clever, albeit slightly uncomfortable looking climber from climbing from Luchka Rakovets. First proper look at the slabs here. Olympia Ariani there on the left. Zigazach on the right.
Come on, friends, come on.
Plenty of encouragement coming from the venue MC, so I assume we've got someone near a top. I don't have a clear view of the wall, sadly. We've got 2 bouldering walls here in Moscow, one at each end of the arena. So whenever you can see one, you automatically can't see the other. We're at the other end, as luck would have it. Flavie Koho. Just under half the time remaining to find a top on women's 1. It's seen 3 tops already now. As I said, I suspect it could be tricky to make the final if you don't get it done. Could be an early reading of the scores at this stage. Still a very early reading, but Flavie Koho, the 8th climber out onto it. She can get it done. That'll mean it's been done by 50% of climbers. And we finally get a top on men's 3. Zach Richardson having a fantastic semi-final here in Moscow. Gets the job done. He's got some extra rest. The next boulder for him is a slab. So physically you may not need the rest, but it's quite nice to just have an extra minute or 2 just to dial yourself down mentally and get yourself into slab zone, a little calmer. So he disappears back into the isolation zone. Luchka Rakovets now. This is one of the best attempts we've seen on women's 3. This boulder looks very doable for her.
Ale. 1 minute left.
Ale.
Ilian Sherif. 50 seconds to go for him, and Flavie, his compatriot, climbing next to him to find tops, and you can see he's getting a little bit frustrated.
Come on.
Lined it up to try again. Getting pretty pushed for time here. He's having to work very hard on this lower section. So safely up to the zone. He's got that in the bag at least. But again, he's just having to work hard to make progress on it. None of those moves look like they were coming easy. And we've barely seen the slab, but it doesn't seem like a huge amount of progress has been made just yet. But we do have progress on women's 3. We have a top on women's 3, and it comes from Luchka Rakovets.
So the next climber is Do-Hyun Lee from Korea.
And Laura Rogora from Italy.
Про Лауру уже немножко рассказывал, да, очень сильная молодая спортсменка из Италии.
Let's just have another look actually at that top of women's 3. This is how it came about. Luchka Rakovets has definitely looked the closest to anyone at this stage of getting this one done. Slightly unusual method, but really creative climbing. Got her in a really solid position, and the hold you're going for is pretty reasonable by the standards of IFSC international competitions. Laura Rogora now, multiple World Cup lead finalist in the seniors, is out. Do-Hyun Lee of Korea is also out. He's climbing on men's 1. Laura, a short climber. Be interesting to see how she finds it. You'd imagine that these moves here should be slightly easier for her, but then the ones above will be slightly harder. But you can see just how hard she's having to work. It's not the most dignified of moves, this, trying to get on top of that green ball. But she's found a way of reaching up for the zone. You can see pure shoulder power and flexibility paying dividends there. She got herself into a pretty promising position. It looked like she was working very hard low down on the boulder. This does look hopeful.
Come on, come on, come on.
3 minutes to go for her. She's got plenty of time to feel around. She can jab a foot out to the right. There's no black tape to stop her doing that. You can see her lining it up, just trying to figure out how to get to that green hold. She got a pretty good hand on it. Miriam Fogu, we just got a glimpse of there on the slab. Do-Hyun Lee, we saw briefly on men's 1. There's Semen of Chinikov on men's 2. Just pulling on to women's 2 is Laura Lama. Top left of your screen, the provisional results as they stand. So let's have a look at the slab. Men's 4, very, very difficult. I think we're going to see what the route setters term separation here. The last thing the route setters want is multiple ties. I don't think we're going to get them. It would seem unlikely because that slab is going to require a lot of attempts. So 2 Lauras out, Rogora and Lama. This is Laura Rogora, right hand side of the screen, women's 1.
Come on. Come on.
This looks quite hopeful for Do-Hyun Lee.
Come on.
We've seen this so many times. The climbers have not quite figured out how to use that black hole below the top hold. And it didn't look like he made maximum use of it, but he got himself in a position he was happy with. He was able to latch the top, so he gets the job done with about 50 seconds left to spare.
Давай, Семен, давай. Давай, давай, давай. Давай.
Laura Lama choosing to go direct for the zone. She didn't look too far off holding that. This is Guy McNamee of Canada, men's 3. His compatriot Zach Richardson got it on his second go. Just creeping his right foot up now. I think one of the problems is he needs to free that hold up to catch with the right hand with his toes on. Sadly, he's not going to get a top there.
Next climber is Alberto Guinness Lopez from Spain.
And Brooke from the USA.
So 2 very interesting climbers to see here. The last climbers out in the so-called bottom half of the semi-final. Brooke Rabatou of Colorado in the USA and Alberto Guinness Lopez of Spain. Both of them beginning to make real dents in the Senior World Cups. Can they do back in the juniors? So the French duo now move on to number 2, Flavie Coe and Ilia Sherif. Still waiting for a top on this women's 2. Flavie Coe looks quite composed. Very solid on that move up to the zone. Now what she's got to do is try and palm underneath this orange hold. If you try and grab it like that, it's not a great hold, but if you get underneath it, you get yourself pushed up underneath it, it's relatively positive as a push rather than a pull hold. Here's Brooke. Saw it in our most recent action on the IFSC before coming to Moscow. That was in Arco about 2 weeks ago. She was in the semi-final there in the lead. Alberto's also been having an excellent 2018. He was in the final in Arco 2 weeks ago. So we see these two slightly more in the lead than the bowler, absolutely in the reckoning, and 2 of the climbers you might have expected to be slightly higher up the order today. Both of them very much gunning for a place in the final, and Brooks got off to a pretty good start. A 5-minute rest becomes almost 8 minutes, and then she'll attempt women's 2, which Flavie Coe is currently on.
Come on, Zach. Gamba, gamba, gamba. Ale. Ale, ale. Ale, ale. Ale.
So Flavie Coe again trying to hold the hold rather than push down off it. And she was certainly closer that time, but as I say, particularly a slightly taller climber like her, the best way to do it is to fire yourself underneath that hold and press under it with both your palms. But she almost made it work the so-called tougher way. Liam Sharif looking a bit frustrated as he did on boulder 1. Miu Kurita, women's 3. So I believe we've got a replay from boulder 1. Let's have a look at that. This was Alberto Guinness Lopez. We didn't see this live. So does he use the top of the hold? We've seen the top of the hold be ignored. We had a quick look at it, didn't fancy it. Right, that was a bit hard in the mouth for just half a second or so, but once that left hand was solid, he was away. Sam McQueen here of the USA looking pretty promising, has to be said, on men's 3. Latches with the right hand, latches with the left. Top for him. Second top of the morning for him. got it done on number 1 as well. So we go back to the French duo battling on second boulders. Flavie Coe has been close. Will she try a different method here? No, she's going to try and pinch again. It can be done like that. I think we could be about to see dual tops on men's 4 and women's 4. We don't see any, and we lose Flavie Coe. Final move on women's 2. Interesting though that she could repeatedly get to that move. The boulder certainly looks toppable.
From USA.
And Valentin.
So we are now onto the 11th climbers to make it out onto the mats. Valentine Magnon of France and Ross Fulkerson of the USA. So we're now just past halfway through our starters to give you some idea of where we're at. For those of you just joining us, welcome to Moscow. It's a beautiful morning outside. The action is in here in the huge arena housing our Youth World Championship all this week here in Moscow in the Dynamo part of the city. A couple of miles northwest of Red Square. This is Laura Rigora on women's 2. Interesting to see how she makes the transition. We do see her much more in the lead competitions, but you can't climb with the same certainty in bouldering. You've got to go for a couple of moves, and women's 2 a good example of that. Here's Oceana McKenzie. Just a 1 top for her so far. That was on number 3. Semen Ovchinnikov is trying to find the way to step out to the right on men's 3. Semen got a bit of encouragement. So just needs to slap either straight to the zone, or we saw Zach Richardson go with the right hand and grab that small white screw on that's just about to disappear from the shot. Lara Lama now trying to squirm away onto the top of that zone hold. Said it earlier. Hard to look dignified on that move. It's no way from getting away from the fact it's basically a bit of a fight. And on women's 4, the slab, that move that Oceana McKenzie just fell on, that is, again, considered to be the toughest move on the boulder, just finding a way of moving right whilst keeping your feet on that, that round red hold. So Ross Fulkerson just had a look at men's 1. Valentine Magnon. Women's 1. Back to Semen on number 3. Here's Oceana, women's 4. So once she's got stood up on that round hold that she's got her right foot on, which she's already done, she's already been there before, and unfortunately it's the same outcome this time. She's popping off. It's one of those holds that I have to say, when you feel it, you kind of imagine it shouldn't be too hard to stand on, but the route setters assured me it's really not easy at all, and Oceana McKenzie finding that out the hard way. Guy McNamee is next to her. There's Laura Rigora, hands on hips. Slightly vexed, it would seem, by women's 2.
1 minute left.
Still waiting for a top on that one on women's 2. First 3 of the men's bowls have been top. No joy for anyone yet on the slab. Valentine trying again on women's 1. She's up to the zone solidly enough. She's a slightly taller climber. some of the athletes in this category.
Come on, man. Come on. Come on, Taylor. Come on. Come on. Come on.
Looks quite hopeful from Valentine. That's the second to last hold, and she slapped for the top, but just short.
Come on, Gareth. Come on, keep going. Die, Laura. Die.
This is Laura. What does she do? She's got to, as I say, slap underneath the hole, but she's been timed out. I'm not sure if she heard the buzzer. Yeah, I think she did. It's a shame for Laura. Looked as if she might have found a decent method.
And Natalia Grossman from the USA.
So it's all USA on the first boulders, and we've got 4 American climbers spread across the 8 boulders. Colin Wills. I was getting slightly ahead of myself. Hamish MacArthur of the UK will be out next, but right now it's Colin Wills of the US and Natalia Grossman also of the US, making their first appearance in the semi-final. Ilian Sherif here on men's 3. Now, what will the method be? Looks like he's going full commitment. And he's not far off. He was just underneath that white screw on. If little more accuracy, moves looks very doable for him. So Alberto Gines Lopez on the right, Brooke Rabatu on the left. Brooke made pretty light work of boulder 1. She flashed it, as 2 other climbers have done.
Come on. Stick it. Come on.
Just heading up for the zone. Not too far off it, choosing not to use the undercling with the right hand. All the climbers, it would seem, on the mats right now.
Come on, man.
Colin Wills wearing bib number 100 there, just having another attempt on men's 1. Top left of your screen, you can see the scores coming through. Zach Richardson currently leading the way as it stands, already finished his rotation.
Называется такой момент take your time. В общем, надо отдохнуть, чтобы сделать хорошие попытки, особенно на силовых трассах. Сейчас ты падаешь практически с топа, да, когда можно гулять спортсмена лежать.
And top left of your screen again for the updated women's results. Sam McQueen of the US was just having a look there at men's 4. And he's been climbing alongside Miyu Kurita throughout his rotation. They've got about 2 minutes left of their semi-final. Both these slabs proving incredibly tricky so far. It's one thing to get your right foot onto that round hold for the women. It's another thing to stay there, and we've seen that with Miyu and Oceana McKenzie.
Come on, guys. Come on, US. Ale. Come on.
Is that a possible injury there? We'll keep an eye on that one. Tanya Grossman. Yeah, it doesn't look too promising. We'll keep an eye on that.
Все хорошо с спортсменом из Франции, просто свело ногу.
Такое бывает, мне кажется, в условиях сильных нагрузок. 1 minute left.
It's Flavie Court
Come on.
on women's 3.
У нас работают квалифицированные специалисты, врачи.
Really got to get aggressive with that boulder. There doesn't seem to be any way of finessing it.
Ale. Come on, man. Whoa, super nice.
And I've just listened to the venue MC, and I'm assuming there's a top. There was a big shout from the MC and a big cheer.
Come on, man.
We'll bring you a replay in just a second. This is Ilyan Sherif getting close, and he's had a bit of a frustrating semi-final. Old Ilyan Sherif been close on most of the boulders.
Merci, merci. But it's awesome climbing, you know.
Yeah, we'll bring you a replay of the top at the end of this rotation.
Come on. So in the next
Let's have a look. This is Brooke Rabbitoux. She's about to be timed out. As it wasn't a top, it was the jump from Ilyan Sherif. Didn't turn it into a top as we saw. That was what the cheer was for. Perfect coordination, and importantly, managed to control his left foot. Didn't dab outside the black tape.
Да, и вот про эти моменты именно я говорил, что надо это забыть и настроиться еще на следующей трассе, потому что все еще впереди. И соревнование такая штука, что шансы всегда есть у каждого, всегда. Надо бороться.
Just panning across the stage now. Hamish MacArthur making his first appearance in the semi-final, and Hannah Moule, the very, very strong German climber, also climbing. You can see her there, right-hand side. She looks quite slight, but do not be deceived, there's plenty of power there. Just watching Hamish as well in the isolation zone earlier on. You can actually see into the isolation from where we are. Have to be careful not to talk to anyone, of course, or communicate with anyone, but we can see into it, and he looked very, very strong in the warm-up. Interesting to see how he goes. Laura Rigora there, we just got a glimpse of her on boulder number 3.
Ale, come on, man. Come on, Great Britain, come on. Come on, stick it.
This is Valentine Magnon, just trying to figure out at women's 2.
Come on.
Both men's and women's 2, both awkward boulders. Here's Hamish MacArthur. Got to be careful he doesn't get stalled out on that black hole. We've seen that happen to a lot of climbers where they use up valuable energy trying to figure out how to hold it. The successful attempts seem to have been those where even if they didn't find the absolute perfect spot of the hold, they just went for it.
Come on, Germany.
Do-hyun Lee,
Come on,
South Korea, trying to figure out how to do this jump. We saw a perfect demonstration of it from Ilyan Sherif. You've got to get the right hand and then carry on through and get the left hand onto the zone hold. Semenov Chinnikov, we could just do panning up a little bit there, Mr. Cameraman. Thank you very much. He's got just under 2 minutes left to find the top here. And he won't get much closer than that. One of the best, if not the best attempt we've seen on men's 4. As I say, the stage completely full. Got 8 climbers on 8 boulders, so we can't see every single piece of action. We bring you what we can, but that certainly looked one of the best, if not the best attempt yet on that 4th boulder. Become only the 3rd climber to get a zone on that one, after Guy McNamee and Zach Richardson.
Come on. Come on.
Do-hyun Lee lining up, swing to the right. Laura Rigora looking pretty handy here on women's 3. There's the top hold, you can see her on the right of your screen. Chooses not to launch for it, does it statically, does it successfully. Top for her with about 40 seconds left. Just a bit of extra time to compose herself. Here's Hannah Mühl of Germany, top 10 finish already for her in the Senior Bouldering World Cup. She was 10th in Vale back in June. I don't think she's going to get number 1 done. Do Hyun Lee, this is going to be his last attempt on men's 3, and he'll need to be very quick about it. According to the results I have, he doesn't yet have the zone. So with 5 seconds to go, I'm pretty sure this is a zone-only attempt. That was it. He wasn't far off, just didn't quite have the coordination right. Just stalled as the right hand landed. Needs to keep going, get the left to join it.
And Sandra Letter from Austria.
Sandra Lettner now of Austria, 14th climbers out. She's joined by David Marco Colombo of Italy. 3 American climbers out, 2 French as well at the end. There they are. Flavien and Ilian have had each other for company all the way. And Ilian Sharif, it's felt like he's perhaps deserved a top. He's had every zone so far, but he hasn't got any tops. He's been close on every boulder, frustratingly close. We could see in his body language earlier on, he's looking a bit hacked off at that.
Come on, group. Ale.
Just the 1 zone so far on that women's 4. No one especially close to the top. Luchka Rakovet's got the zone. That's Natalia Grossman of the US there on women's 2. Her compatriot Colin Wills next to her. See that a couple of climbers already finished their rotation. Luchka Rakovet, Oceana McKenzie, Laura Lammer finished, Miu Kurita, Rabatou, 1 more boulder to go. On number 4. David and Marco Colombo. Here, 14th climber out, Team Italy. And we just saw Sandra Lettner dropping it on women's 1. He's got to find a way of not hanging around for too long on this hold. It tires you out so fast, and we saw it again. It's definitely been a case of who dares wins on that one. You just go for it. Don't think about it too much. Oh, and Alberto not far off, a bit of a nasty fall there. Two Americans side by side on the second boulders. At that stage of the semi-final where it just feels frantic, everything seems to be happening at once. We almost lose track of where people are at. I will do my best to bring you the scores as they come through. Try and keep you up to date. As it stands, no one's got more than 2 tops on the men's side of things, and no one's got more than 2 tops on the women either. It's a very, very tough set of boulders. Ilian Sharif, I said earlier, it felt like he might have deserved a top. He's now got all 4 zones, and he just peels off going for the top. It's been a bit of a heartbreak hotel semi-final for him. He's been close on every boulder.
Come on, Brooke, do it.
So here's Brooke Rabatou, I mentioned earlier. After this, she's only got 1 boulder to go. She's got a minute left on number 3. Can she find a way? She's close there. She's very close. She's got the top.
1 minute left.
With a minute to spare.
Awesome climbing from Brooke Rabatou.
So pretty good semi-final for Brooke so far. That's 2 tops. She becomes only the 2nd climber to have 2 tops behind Luchka Rakovet. Alberto Hines Lopez, that is the way you do it. He just looked like he was slightly low that time. If you can be slightly more upright when your left hand lands, it means you can then drop onto it a bit easier. Here's Sandra Lettner.
Thank you very much for your awesome climbing, team of
Colin Wills, no joy for him on number 2. Flavico on number 4, nothing for her doing.
So next climber from Japan, Kantaro Ito.
And Saki Kikuchi from Japan.
Saki Kikuchi is climbing now. Kantaro Ito, first of the Itos to today's semi-final. Futaba will be out second to last on the women's side of things, the 19th climber out. The Japanese bouldering talent factory shows no sign of slowing down its production. So what can Laura Rigora find on women's 4?
Интересная техника у спортсменки из Японии. Гамба-гамба. Come on.
It's very nice.
Gamba-gamba-gamba.
Saki Kikuchi just trying to find a way of getting on top of that green hold. She manages to reach the zone, but I was about to say the problem is staying there. It's not really the kind of hold that you can hold at full extension. You need your arm to be slightly bent so you can get some really good purchase on it.
Gamba, gamba, gamba. Gamba, gamba.
Kantaro Ito on this now very familiar black hold just below the top on men's 1. Looking slightly frustrated. This looks pretty hopeful from Laura Rigora. She's known particularly for her lead climbing, so this steady, paced style should help her, should suit her, and it does suit her. She gets the first top of women's 4. That's the first time that boulder has been done. Brooke Rabbit is going to be the next climber to attempt it. This is Hannah Moole here on the left, and Hamish MacArthur on the right. Hannah Moole, she's trying to pinch that hold. If you can find somewhere pressing up underneath it, it makes life a lot easier, but it seems like she's got the raw strength just to hang on to it. Problem then is not only moving to the left, but moving up from it. Top there, that is men's 3. We'll get you a replay of that.
Gamba, 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 gamba. Gamba, gamba, gamba. 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 Ah, team of Japan. Yeah.
Top there as well. Saki Kikuchi gets the job done on number 1. Let's have another look. This is men's 3. That's how you do it. Or you just go with the right hand. You see most climbers cross through with the right, followed immediately by the left. That was how Ross Volkerson did that lower move on men's 3. So we've seen Saki Kikuchi top out. She always seems to go well here in Moscow. She was 13th here in the World Cup back in April. So Kantaro Ito pops off that black hole. It's been a familiar scenario. Minute left. Hannah Moole doesn't seem to want to rest, wants to get on with it straight away. Looking a bit frustrated frustrated Hannah Moores, burning through the attempts, burning through the energy here. These are no pushover, these moves. And a slightly frustrated German climber decides that enough is enough. I think pretty clear which one was her best attempt. She came very close to launching for the top hole but couldn't quite make it stick. Penalty Mania, we just saw briefly there in women's 3. Amish not going to have time to get number 2 done.
The next one from Spain, Cruz. Boulder number 1, super strong from Spain.
And Emily Phillips
So
from
second
Great Britain.
male climber out now.
Парень из Испании вчера
Enrico Carretero Cruz.
в группе А. Просто каким-то космическим образом он там везде запрыгнул.
Emily Phillips,
Сами
Team
подготовщики
Great Britain,
удивлялись, пока
climbing
не забыл.
alongside him on
Лидер
Boulder 1.
да, он сказал, я у него спросил, он сказал, да, он очень сильный.
Sandra Letner, you can see there, middle of your screen, climbing on number 2. She got the zone on Boulder 1, did Sandra Letner. She's the reigning combined champion from Innsbruck. We don't have an Olympic format combined this time in the Youth World Championship, but when we did in 2017 in Innsbruck, 11 months ago, it was Sandra Letner who won the women's side. Amazing day. I remember we were trying to interview her afterwards and she was just in absolute disbelief at what had just taken place.
Come on. Come on, come on, come
David
on.
Marco Colombo of Italy. Safely up to the zone on men's 2. That is a top there on women's 3, I think it was, when he panned to it at the last second. Natalia Grossman.
Venga, venga, España, venga. Come on, man.
Can Sandra let her figure out on this women's 2?
Come on.
Pop up with the left hand. Basically none of the moves on that women's 2
Come on.
seem particularly straightforward.
Come on, guys.
Colin Wills needs to head out to the right. Now what will the method be? Will he choose to stop once the right hand lands or carry on through with the left? So try to do it almost statically. Let's have a look at the replay on the top of, I think it was women's 3. It was women's 3. Over on the right hand side of your screen.
Come on, man. Venga, amigo, venga, venga.
Natalia Grossman, once she got into this position, I can't quite see her. Not sure the cameraman can quite decide who to focus on. Eventually he finds the top.
Сделать хороший результат.
Да, он так, вот это одно движение сделал очень мощное. Конечно, никто их не сделал, чуть-чуть по-другому сделали. Дай, дай, дай,
Also
дай,
had
дай,
a top on
дай.
number 1. Just been told from Enrico Carretero Cruz of Spain. Also top men's 1.
Come on,
Try and keep
Italy,
you up to
come
date.
on.
That looks quite hopeful on men's 2. Not quite enough, David Marco Colombo.
Come on.
So this is Emily Phillips of Great Britain. She's got a minute and a half left.
Come on, Brooke, come on. Attention.
Alberto Gines Lopez. We haven't seen that much of him in the semi-final. He's been going reasonably well. One top so far. Make that 2.
España, bravo, bravo.
First top of men's
Thank you
4.
very much. It was super cool.
1 minute left.
Come on, Brooke, come on.
So we've finally had a top on men's 4.
Come on.
Brooke Rabatou on women's 4. Not quite finding the method. Now Emily Phillips somehow fitting in underneath that roof. A comfortable series of moves. One of those moves where you kind of feel glad to then be able to reach and stretch out again after being compressed so much. Slaps from the top hold, left hand and right hand land. That's the top for her. Good start to the semi-final, so Brooke has got about 15 seconds left. She's not going to have enough time. Just looking at her score, doesn't appear to have been given a zone yet for this hold, for this bowl, excuse me. So this, less than 5 seconds ago, is going to be an attempt only on the zone. Certainly she's not going to get there. So she's going to end the semi-final with 2 tops, 2 zones. Got off to a cracking start. Brooke flashed the first boulder, nothing on the second. Top the third boulder, and then nothing for her on the fourth. All the boulders for the women, apart from number 2, have now been topped, and on the men's side they've all been topped. So a bit like yesterday in the junior semi-final, tops very, very hard to come by, especially for the women. Katsura Kanishi there on the left of Team Japan, and Frederica Fell of Germany. These are our 4th to last climbers out. We're very much into the second half of this semi-final here in Moscow, with only 4 climbers still to go, and more than half the climbers have already finished their rotation or are in the process of finishing. We've got our 11th climbers finishing their semi-finals in the next few minutes.
Come on, man. Come on.
Hamish just having another look at men's 3, trying to figure out if he's missed something. You can see there Zach Richardson climbed relatively early. He was the 4th climber out. He's still leading the way in the provisional standings.
Come on, easy, come on.
Что ж, полуфиналы и финалы и квалификация международная первенство.
Come on, Hamish, come on.
Both climbers underway on the first boulders.
Come on, man, come on, super.
Katsura Konishi is actually the last Japanese climber out. We're used to seeing a big cluster of Japanese athletes towards the top end of a semi-final. He's the last one out on the men's side. Just for Taba Ito to come from Team Japan on the women's side. Frederica Fell has got herself up to the zone. Got to commit up to that green hold. Match. Somehow launched to the top. And that's the top for Katsura Konishi.
Come on! Come on! Super cool!
There it is. 2 tops in quick succession on the first boulders. Frederica Fell gets the job done. Ross Fulkerson there trying to find something on men's 4. Alongside him, Valentin Magnan. They are the 11th climbers out, as I mentioned, so they're about to finish their rotation.
Я думаю, что мы еще увидим много разных реакций от тренеров, в том числе не только из Германии. Вот. Come on, man. Whoa!
Big cheer from the venue MC. Are we about to see a top on women's 2? This is looking very, very promising indeed. Saki Kikuchi got the first one done. Pretty solid here again, choosing not to press underneath, kind of a compromiser, grabbing each end, slaps it with a left hand, gets it done. So every boulder's been topped now. Saki Kikuchi, she's topped the first 2. She's just got the first top of women's 2 as well. Hannah Moule there, who was looking a bit hacked off earlier on, and continues to be so, it would seem.
Come on, man. Come on, keep going.
40 seconds left for these climbers.
Come on.
Still just the one
You can
top
do it.
on women's 4 and the one top on
Come
men's
on.
4.
Come
So
on,
these slabs
Jacob.
proving very, very difficult.
Alice.
It's not bad. It was bad. Yeah, it's very
Valentine Magnan pulls back on with 15 seconds to go. She's not going to get it done. Slightly frustrated. Ditto for Ross Fulkerson. Wall temporarily empty. 18th climbers out into today's semi-final. Matteo Bascieri of Italy and Camilla Moroni, also of Italy. There's a strong climbing name, Moroni. Gabrielli, of course, claiming his first ever World Cup win. Somehow he'd never managed to win one before in Hachioji earlier this year. Alex Kazanov with one of the most famous bits of IFSC commentary in history, completely abandoning any attempt at impartiality. My ears haven't quite recovered from him screaming when Gabri won that World Cup. What a moment that was. So here goes Camilla, Matteo Bascieri immediately to her left. Emily Phillips is climbing again, and Nico Carretero Cruz, excuse me, is climbing again on number 2. Stage still full.
Come on, Yossi, come on.
Дай. Come on, Italy.
Camilla Moroni just lining it up, aiming for that green hold.
Come on.
Pretty solid
Come on,
towards
come
the
on,
end
Italy.
of her reach, that span move.
Allez.
Come on, Austria, come on.
Just struggling to find out how to match that one. You can see that there, that's Sandra Lettner down there on the right, women's 3. David Marco Colombo
Come on.
wearing 107, men's 3.
Дай.
What method will he use? See, watching both climbers at the same time here. Had to think about trying to go statically. He's relatively tall. It may be possible. You got to go with a bit of commitment though. But if you can minimise the commitment, minimise the speed, minimise the momentum, he might stand a chance. Is this a different method again? Is he going to try and face the crowd?
Come on, man. Да, но мы, кстати, напоминаем, что можно попробовать свои силы всем желающим на специально построенных скалодромах для зрителей.
He went with the right hand, but the problem was he missed the small catch,
Можно провести время
the
неплохо
white
здесь.
catch.
Можно посмотреть, поболеть спортсменами. Можно пойти попробовать после этого свои силы на специально отведенных скалодромах. В общем, должно быть не скучно. Кто в первый раз здесь присутствует, да, можно попробовать и понять, что лазать это очень сложно. Но интересно. Come on!
Colin Wills there we just got a quick glimpse of
Come on!
the men's
Come
4.
on!
And this is Emily Phillips
Come on,
going pretty well, it would seem, on women's 2. Took a long time for this boulder to see a top. Is it about to see a second?
Thank you, Spania.
Well, when it was successfully climbed, we saw if you can grab both ends of that hold, ideally, as I've mentioned a couple of times, you do push underneath it, but if you can find a way of doing it then without pushing underneath it, it seems to be that grabbing both ends of it is the way to go. This is Sandra Lettner getting herself in position. This is quite hopeful on women's 3. Very solid top for her. Also had a top on men's 1, Matteo Bascieri. It's about as static as we've seen that move done. That's nice work from David Marco Colombo.
Come on, come on, come on.
Now he needs to just get himself set. He's got 25 seconds left. This will be his last go, but it's his first go at these moves. He needs to do everything as much certainty as he can muster. He's not going to have time to get himself back up here. This is his shot at the top. Looks incredibly painful, all that force going through the left knee, but worth it because he claims the top with 3 seconds to spare. So, interesting pair of climbers now beginning their semi-final. Futaba Ito and Sam Avazu. Sam been going really well in the lead World Cups recently. Futaba Ito, a name that we are hearing more and more and more. In a strong field, she is one of, if not perhaps, the most promising Japanese youngster right now.
У нас в списке еще по одному спортсмену, если я не ошибаюсь, да? Да. Ale.
Katsura Kenishi there, climbing next to his compatriot, Kantara Ito. On the left-hand side of your screen, Frederica Fell. This is them on the second boulders. Katsura Kenishi looking pretty handy on this men's two. It's not an easy top out though. Although he made it look easy. 3 minutes extra rest, top in the bag. Great start for him. He's topped both of the first 2 boulders. He's the only climber to have topped both of the first 2. So, Frederica Fell. If she can get, you might see the chalk on the left-hand end of the volume. Chooses to go from relatively low down and didn't look as if she really believed she could do it. Here is Futaba Ito. One of the absolute favourites to win the gold medal in this Youth A Bouldering. Had a fantastic Youth World Championships in Innsbruck last year. That's when she was in Youth B. Also got top on women's 3. Yeah, Futaba Ito there. We just saw her topping number 1. She won the Youth B combined and the Youth B Bouldering in Innsbruck in 2017. This year she moves up to Youth A, but as I say, absolutely one of the favourites to win it. Incredibly promising and exciting young climber. Gamba, gamba. So this was a women's 3. Saki Kikuchi even had time to chalk up. It's a good hold she's going for, but of course she doesn't know that until she gets there. Controlled the swing and even put a little toe hook in just to make sure of the top. Nice work from her. She's topped all 3 boulders so far.
Come on, come on, come on.
Saki Kikuchi was on the podium alongside Futaba in Innsbruck. Saki was 3rd, Futaba was 1st. Sam Avazu, what's he got? He's got a top and 1 minute 30 left on the clock with which to rest in the isolation zone. Another person who had a great time in Innsbruck last year. He won the Youth A combined. So this is his 2nd year in succession in Youth A. Climbers are only in each category for 2 years and then they move up. I mentioned it earlier, if you're just joining us, the youngest group we've got here in Innsbruck is Youth B, climbers born in 2003 or 4. This is Youth A we're currently watching now. It's climbers born in 2001 and 2002. And then the juniors, the oldest category is 99 and 2000. And Hamish MacArthur, looking pretty handy here on men's 4, and he looks so frustrated with himself. Really went for it, but just put too much force through his left foot too quickly, and it popped off. Kantaro Ito here, he's on men's 3.
Come on, go.
Futaba Ito has just topped number 1 with a lot of time to spare. Feels like a long time since she was on the stage. Hamish MacArthur, he got very close on his last attempt, but sadly he's not going to have time to do any better this time. 1 second to go. There is the time, and that's doubly frustrating for him. You can see how hacked off he is, because that boulder was absolutely toppable for him, and he did top it a couple of seconds too late. The attempt before was really the one. He just perhaps rushed that last move slightly. Missed out. Really, really frustrating situation for him. So Nathan Martin now of France, climbing alongside Selina Schäuble of Austria. They are our 20th climbers. So after them, at the end of this 5-minute rotation, then we will not be seeing any more of men's 1 and women's 1.
Venga, super strong.
Также напомню, что сегодня нас ждет финал болдеринга у юниоров и юниорок. Я думаю, это будет зрелищно. Приходите.
Venga.
Off to a pretty good start there, Nathan, on number 1. Looking very smooth, very strong, completely composed. And made that boulder look easy. Tops it with plenty of time to spare. So we cut across now to Eneko on number 3.
Come on.
Camilla Moroni, can she find the top here on women's 2? Still only seen the 1 top, that was Saki Kikuchi. He's not going to see a top right now. Sandra Letner here, women's 4. David Marco Colombo on men's 4. Sandra looking quite smooth. That right foot placement though is so tenuous. As you begin to creep over to the right, that can happen. Any movement of the hips away from the wall, you're in a bit of trouble. Here's Emily Phillips, not quite sure how a human body's going to bend like that, but she might just make it work. Everybody currently rubbing their elbows. Imagined pain of what that must feel like.
Come on,
Echo here, men's 3, smoothly done. Latches the right hand, no problem at all. Up to the zone. Needs to keep it calm here. It's not in the bag just yet. Now it is. Top for him. Brilliant performance on men's 3. That'll make him the 5th climber to get that one.
Come on, Andre.
So let's have a quick recap of the scores. As it stands, the top 4 on the women's side, which is Brooke Rabatu, Luchka Rakovets, Laura Gora and Saki Kikuchi, have at least 2 tops. Saki Kikuchi actually has 3, but so to get into the top 4, as it stands right now, you need 2 tops. I'm going to say that to make it into the final, you're going to need at least 2 tops. Brooke Rabatu, 2 tops, 2 zones. Could be slightly nervously watching this. Let's have a quick look at the results. We'll get them up on screen for you. You can see there, Saki Kikuchi, 3 tops out of 3, and then Laura Gora, Luchka Rakovet, and Brooke Rabatu all have 2 tops. Below that, Oceana McKenzie, Sandra Letner, Emily Phillips, Natalia Grossman, Laura Lama, Miyu Karita, Federica Felfataba Ito. They all have 1 top. Hannah Mulder in 13th place. Would have been hoping for better. She's finished her rotation. She's not going to get a chance to do any more about it. A bit of a nasty looking fall there for Selina Schäuble. Men's scores coming up now. The top 6 have all got 2 tops. Katsura Konishi hasn't finished yet, so he can add to his tally. But again, you're going to, I think, need at least 2 tops on the men's, so you are going to need at least 2 tops on the men's side. 2 tops, 4 zones may be enough, probably will, I think. Zach Richardson's got 2 tops, 4 zones. Still, provisional first place in the rankings. So we're now done with the first boulders. Every climber that's going to appear in the semi-final is now either underway or finished. And we're focusing solely on boulders 2, 3 and presumably 4.
Кто засиделся, кто хотел бы размяться, можно пойти на специальные скалодромы, которые находятся...
4 Japanese climbers out of 6 now. 2 Itos out, Futaba and Kantaro. There is Futaba Ito. I think for me, probably the woman to beat here. I know she's made a step up in age group, but she's so strong. She was in the final of a senior Boulder World Cup in Hachioji back in start of June, 2nd of June, I think it was. And looked very strong on Boulder 1. She was looking pretty handy on number 2 as well. This bowler has only seen 1 top up until now. If Futaba Ito could get it done, it would put her in such a strong position. No problem at all. Even looks over her shoulder, calm as you like, to check with the judges. Judges raise the clipboard and she has got the top in the bag. Her compatriot Saki Kikuchi must be climbing on number 4. Saki Kikuchi, as it stands, has got 3 tops from the first 3 boulders. Can she make it 4 from 4? Time will tell. She's got 3 minutes 10 to find her top there. Futaba Ito has flashed both of the first 2 boulders just to confirm. As we watch Frederica Fell, she's on number 3.
Come on.
Pan across to Katsura Konishi, he's on men's 3.
Geshan, stick it. Go Germany, go, go, go. Go, go, go Germany.
Could be about to see another top women's 3.
Yeah. It was super.
The 8th top of that boulder. Frederica Fell has got it. So Saki Kikuchi, bronze medalist in Innsbruck Youth B Boulder. Can she make it 4 tops on 4 boulders? I have to say she's looking pretty hopeful. Latches it, claims the 2nd top of women's 4. Laura Rigora flashed it. Saki Kikuchi didn't get it first go, but she topped it. She's the 2nd climber to do so. This is Sam Avazu. Saw his brother Leo in action yesterday. Just getting fired off. His leg just rotated behind him there. Very hard to hold yourself once your hips begin peeling away from the wall. Katsura Konishi now. Looks like he's trying to do this move statically. Surely can't cut loose with the hands and rely on that toe hook. Thought about it. So score-wise, we've now got a perfect score. Certainly in terms of tops, did require a few attempts, but a perfect score on the women's side. Saki Kikuchi, 4 tops, 4 boulders. Interestingly enough, no one's got 3 tops as it stands right now. Those who've finished have either got 2 tops or 4. Saki Kikuchi's got 4, Laura Gora's got 2. Frederica Fell's got 2, and she hasn't attempted the 4th boulder yet. Luchka Rakovets has got 2. Taba Ito's got 2 flashes, and Brooke Rabatu's got 2 tops. That is your current top 6. Brooke Rabatu got a bit of a nervous wait and watch here. She's got no zones other than her tops. 2 tops, 2 zones for Brooke. Just have to watch, see if that's enough to hang on to 6th place. That's Sam Avazou, son of Cécile Avazou, the 2-time French national champion. I think that's it for this round. No more tops on this rotation. This will be our last time seeing the second boulders. Emily Phillips and Nico of Spain. That's the 4th boulders. Selena Schäuble make their way out, and then it's all Italy on boulder 3. Camilla Moroni and Matteo Bascieri. There is Camilla. Back into the screen. Clearly walking on to have a go at number 3. Proving very, very tricky, those slabs, both of them for the men and the women. Selena Schäuble, we just saw falling off women's 2. Only, as I mentioned, only seen 2 tops. Saki Kikuchi and Futaba Ito with them. Futaba Ito absolutely storming through at this stage. Over on the men's side, you need at least 2 tops to make it into the final. Sam Avazou is currently sitting in provisional 7th, and he's got 2 tops, so you need 2 tops and zones to go with them.
It's unbelievable.
Again, interestingly, none of the male climbers have more than 2 tops, but all the boulders have been topped by someone. So different combinations of tops amongst the male climbers, but yeah, you're going to need at least 2, probably 3 zones, 2 tops, 3 zones, could see you in, attempts dependent. It's pretty tight at the top of the men's. It's pretty tight at the top of the women's. Right now, the top 6 have got 2 or more tops. Anyone below them has got less than 2 tops. So Camilla Moroni gets it done on women's 3. Let's see where that moves her up to. That's her first top. See there, Saki Kikuchi, 4 tops for her on 4 boulders, required 9 attempts to get them. Camilla Moroni moves up into 7th place as it stands. If she can top the next boulder, she'll move up into the provisional finals places.
Come on. Venga, venga.
Matteo Bascieri of Italy. Looking at the jump on men's 3.
Die.
Come on, baby, come on.
Again, as we've seen with most climbers, choosing to pause and think about his method. And I think it looked as if he went with the right hand and was intending to stop, but had a bit of momentum and then tried to slap through with the left. But it's one of those moves you've got to make your decision and stick to it. So here's Emily Phillips. Getting on top of that red ball, proving so problematic. On, men's 2, you can see the top. Touch the top with both hands. Great work from him.
One minute left.
Я, кстати, целый месяц провел во Франции, в Кьёзе. Вот. Так что пару слов подучил.
Силовой счет по-французски.
Matteo Bashiri looking a bit hacked off there on the men's 3. He's so close to that move, he just
Come on, Austria, go, go, go!
needs to find the exact method, and the problem for him is there are several ways of doing it, so you can get a bit indecisive. Kind of decide on a method and stick with it, I think, on that one. Time's up, so Emily Phillips is not going to find a top on that one. Still just the 2 tops on that women's 4. Emily Phillips finishes with 1 top and 3 zones. So we're now done with the second boulders. Futaba Ito and Sam Avazu now climbing on number 3, Frederica Fell and Katsura Kanishi on number 4. So we're only on the right-hand side of the wall here in Moscow. Semi-final drawing to a close, and the places in the final still very much up for grabs. These are the 4th to last climbers. Frederica Fell is currently in 3rd place, so she'll be through. Katsura Konishi, meanwhile, is currently in 6th place. Top for him was making the first climber with 3 tops. Sam Avazu's got his feet over to the right. The trick is getting your hands over. There it is, Sam Avazu. Looking pretty good here. If he can top this, he'll have 3 tops on 3 boulders. He'll be the first male climber with 3 tops. And he'll still have a boulder to attempt. Just slip there. Needs to just keep it calm here. Top for him, and I think in the background that was a top for Futaba Ito as well. Neither of those two hanging around for long. It was a top for Futaba Ito. So that means, I'll double check how many attempts that was for Futaba. She flashed the first 2 boulders. I think she's flashed all 3. We'll just wait for confirmation. There it is. No, she got it second go with that one. Futaba Ito got it on second go.
Очень сегодня, да, чуть-чуть короткий день, а завтра опять марафон, много разных дисциплин, судьи в шоке.
So yeah, Futaba Ito, that's the first time she's fallen off a boulder in today's semi-final. She got that 3rd boulder on her second go. She's going to cruise into the finals. The only question is whether she can match her compatriot Saki Kikuchi and make it 4 tops on 4 boulders. So both climbers going pretty well here on the slab. Frederica Fell and Katsura Konishi. Can either of them find the top? Katsura lining it up. Don't want to go too fast, because that's what happens. You have to creep up. Temptation is there when you feel reasonably solid just to launch, but as soon as you begin going up, just inevitably you begin going out slightly. It just means that your body, your centre of gravity moves away from the wall, and then sadly that top hold is not very good. You don't have much chance of hanging on to it. Minute and a half left for these two. Just having another go. Got a minute and 10 left. It's not the most comfortable position to hold that. He just couldn't find a way of getting his feet underneath him.
1 minute left.
Если кажется, что она простая, на положительной части, то она, как мы уже увидели, не очень простая.
So both climbers back on the wall. Frederica fell, and Katsura Konishi.
Gamba, gamba, gamba.
She decides not to have another go. Frederica fell, so that leaves her in third place, 2 tops, 4 zones. It should be enough to see her through. And again, we start 5 minutes. Selina Schäuble and Nathan Martin of France, 2 climbers onto the third boulder, and this was the last time we will see that third boulder.
Ну, да. Отличный результат.
Посмотрим, как справится его коллега.
Да, и вот, кстати, мужская третья трасса на смекалку. Она, кстати, физически не очень сильная. Вот, судьи на трассу переживали. Вот, а теперь мы видим, что все хорошо.
This is the all-Italian team of Camilla Moroni on the left and Matteo Bascieri on the right. Slab, both slabs on both sides proving very, very difficult indeed. Still just the 2 tops on the women's one, and just the 1 top, Alberto Pines Lopez, on the men's one. So across those 2 boulders, 3 tops. Not seeing a lot of action as it stands.
Ale, friends. Good job.
Looking pretty solid on this. And Selina Schäuble looking very solid on women's 3. So it's getting pretty tight at the top now. Selina Schäuble made extraordinarily light work of that one. Just double checking that it was a flash from her. Let's have another look either way. It's the most uncomfortable looking boulder to climb, this one. She is the last climber to attempt it. Nice that she's finished with the top. Once she got into this position, you should be away. Didn't have a chalk bag with her to chalk up, but was pretty confident that the top hold was good, and so it proved. So we focus on the 2 Italians for now, Camilla Moroni and Matteo Bascieri. Hang out to the right. Just struggling with that move out to the right. 2 minutes left to find a way of doing it. And somehow just 12 minutes left of this semi-final. Come and gone in the blink of an eye. But more climbing for you this afternoon though, 4:30. Excuse me, 2:30. We've got the junior bouldering finals. We saw their semi-final last night. It was a very hard set. It'd be interesting to see how the climbers feel this morning after 4 incredibly hard boulders, particularly for the women. Their final is at 2:30 p.m. So do join us for that. Unlike in the Senior World Cups, the finals will be run concurrently, so men and women's final running at the same time. This season in the World Cups we've had the finals separate, not so in the Youth World Championships. That's a scheduling issue, I'm told. It's not in any way suggesting that they're lower priority. It's just in order to fit everything in, they're having to put the finals together. 1 minute to go for these climbers. Camilla Moroni on the women's 4. Currently in seventh place, excuse me. Now a top here would actually move her up into the top 6 at the expense of Brooke Rabatou, but she's not looking too confident on it.
Come on.
Martin, excuse me. Looked as if he was pretty close there. I've seen it with a couple of climbers. Looked like there might have been a bit of indecision. Went with the right hand and thought, oh, I'll bring the left across as well. But you've got to decide that that's what you're going to do beforehand. Sadly for him, he's not going to find a way. And Camilla Maroney is going to finish just outside the top 6 and miss out on the finals. Nathan could still find his way into a final spot. He's currently sitting in 8th with 2 tops and 2 zones. He's the lowest ranked of 7 climbers with 2 tops. So, Futaba Ito and Sam Avazu, both of them are going to be in the final. But if both of them top, they will both finish with 4 tops on 4 boulders.
Кому интересно, можно уже в интернете посмотреть, IFSC, зайти в раздел соревнований, посмотреть прямую трансляцию, посмотреть на результаты, посчитать шансы своих спортсменов.
So both these climbers gunning for the perfect semi-final. 4 tops, 4 boulders. Futaba has only fallen off 1, make that 2 boulders. She's looked so strong in this semi-final. Sam Avazu's had to work a bit harder for his tops. It's taken him 7 attempts, but he could be about to become the second climber. He is the second climber to top men's 4. He's going to finish with 4 tops. Nobody is going to catch him on that front. His compatriot Nathan Martin currently has 2. Even if he gets number 4 done, he'll only end up with 3. So Sam Avazu is going to come out of this semi-final ranked in 1st place. Futaba Ito, meanwhile, has got 3 tops in the 3 boulders she's finished so far. Can she make it 4 for 4? Saki Kikuchi did so on attempts. Futaba would almost certainly move ahead of her should she get this one done, but she is beginning to burn through a few attempts. Saki Kikuchi got this 4th boulder done on her 3rd attempt.
Кстати, сейчас спортсменка из Японии, она тоже является членом взрослой сборной Японии.
Take a good rest, just have a good look at the boulder, just question her method perhaps, figure out if there's something she's missing, is there something she hasn't seen. So that move where you shuffle your feet on that round hole that she's currently standing on looks so difficult. She's got such immaculate balance, didn't really seem to trouble her too much. Certainly hopeful for Futaba. So she's got the top. Haven't confirmed the number of attempts, but I'm pretty sure that'll be her into 1st place in the semi-final rankings. Doesn't really matter, she's comfortably through into the final, but if countback was employed, she may be glad of being top of the rankings, and she is top of the rankings. She's got 4 tops and they took her 7 attempts. Interestingly enough, that her 4 zones also took 7 attempts, so as soon as she got to every zone on every boulder, she then topped it. She flashed her first 2 boulders. She got the 3rd boulder on her 2nd go and the 4th boulder on her 3rd go. Saki Kikuchi also topped all 4 boulders, but she needed 9 attempts to get them. And there you can see the up-to-date scores. Frederica Fell, Laura Rigora, Luchka Rakovet and Brooke Rabatou, the rest of the top 6 as it stands. However, keep an eye out for Selina Schäuble. She's currently down there in 13th place. If she gets this next boulder done, she'll have 2 tops and 3 zones. That would be enough to displace Brooke in the provisional finals rankings. Over on the men's side, Zach Richardson, he climbed 4th, set an early high standard, and it has not been beaten yet. Still waiting for a few results to come through there. Sam Avazu's actually got 4 tops, so for some reason our graphics slightly slow to update. Apologies for that one. Said Zach Richardson hadn't been surpassed. He has, but he's still in 2nd place. Sam Avazu in first, 4 tops for him. So last 5 minutes of this Youth A semi-final gets underway. And there's a lot riding on this for Selina Schäuble. Ditto, Nathan Martin. It will be slightly tighter on the men's side. A bonus may be enough to get him into the final, dependent on attempts. Selina, meanwhile, is pretty simple as far as the maths goes. A top for her will get her into the final. Anything less will not. But as I say, Nathan Martin is a little more complicated. Top will get him into the final, but a zone might as well. May do. But Rabitu will be down the front in the crowd somewhere, watching this slightly nervously. She's currently sitting in 6th place, the final spot. Selina Schäuble can top this boulder though. Won't matter about attempts, won't matter how long it takes, provided she gets to the top within the next 3 minutes and 45 seconds, she'll be into the final in Brooke's place. Pulls back on for another attempt, 3.5 minutes to go.
Come on, come on.
She's really struggling with that move out to the right. I've been trying to keep an eye on Nathan Martin and also do the maths. I think he may have used up too many attempts here for a zone to be enough. So I think you probably need a top in order to get through to the final. Been topped twice this men's number 4. Alberto Jimenez Lopez got it done on his 3rd go, and Sam Avazu flashed it. Sam Avazu, the standout performer really in the semi-final for the men.
Come on, Austria, come on, get you.
Selina Schäuble struggling with that move out right. For Taba Ito, didn't seem at all stressed by it. It's really interesting how different climbers find different moves trickier or easier.
Это не запрещено, почему нет? То есть всегда ты можешь пробовать, оценивать ситуацию, что скальники, конечно, разные бывают, бывает помягче, пожестче. Вот, от этого зависит сцепление, friction. Best shoes, best friction.
So Selina Schäuble, she's got 1 minute and 45 seconds to find her way into this women's final. It's that move out right to the zone that's causing her the problems right now. Nathan Martin, yeah, he's definitely used up too many attempts. I'm pretty certain that a zone won't be good enough for him. He's had a change of shoes. What effect will it have? Can Selina now find a way of moving out right? Yeah, the problem is, because she's going right with a bit of momentum, instead of just creeping centimetre by centimetre, really hard to keep yourself pinned into the wall. Now Nathan Martin could be about to find his way into the final of this competition. David Marco Colombo is replaced in the top 6 by Nathan Martin. He moves up from 8th. He's going to go into least 6. He's going to go into 2nd, in fact. Either way, he displaces David Marco Colombo in the top 6. Confirm the attempts in just a second, but it won't matter because it comes down to tops. Yeah, he took 6 attempts on that, so a zone wouldn't have been enough. But the top is, he goes into 2nd place. So we've got 2 Spaniards, 2 French, a Canadian and a Japanese in the final, and Selina Schäuble cannot find a way of doing that slab. She's not going to knock out Brooke Rabatou. Brooke holds on to 6th place. She had a long wait to see if her 6th place was enough, and it is. She'll climb 1st in the final. So there we have the confirmed results. Sam Abazu, Nathan Martin will be joined by Zach Richardson, Katsura Konishi, Eneko Carretero Cruz and Alberto Jimenez Lopez. David Marco Colombo knocked out with the last piece of action from the semi-final. Sam McQueen, Ross Fulkerson and Do Hyun Lee make up the rest of the top 10. And lower down the order, everyone 12th and above got a top. Hamish MacArthur, Semen Ovchinnikov and Ilian Sharif all came close to tops, but none of them could quite claim one. Let's have a look on the women's side. Just waiting for the women's results to be confirmed. And there we have it, 4 tops for Futaba Ito, 4 tops for Saki Kikuchi, Futaba managing them in a couple less attempts. Be joined in the final by, what a lineup this promises to be, Frederica Fell, Laura Rigora, Luchka Rakovec and Brooke Rabatou. Camilla Maroney and Oceana McKenzie, Sandra Lettner and Emily Phillips all narrowly missing out. Another tough set of boulders for both the men and the women. Everyone down to 14th got a top. Laura Lammer misses out. Selina Schäuble had a chance to make the final on the final boulder, but couldn't quite manage it. Hannah Moole in 15th might have hoped for more. She's been going well in the senior events, but no joy. Strong competition today. So both men's and women's finals proving to be fascinating. We will bring you all the action from them tomorrow. Don't go too far from your couch. We'll be back in just over 2 hours. 2:30 Moscow time. We've got the junior bouldering final. Hope to see you there.